I am Michael DeVellis. This is the Powder Group Conversations. Today, we are lucky to be speaking with the one and only Madeline Leonard. We will be speaking on artist representation now, what it means to be, number one, promote yourself as an artist, but also to be working with an agency now. What does that mean? How do you get involved? All that great stuff. So first of all, I want to, before I get started, Madeline, I'd love to thank our sponsors. Because
Yes,
without our sponsors, what are we,
please.
right? We have nothing.
Yeah.
We can't be doing these free programs all year long, every Wednesday, without Omnia, Beekman 1802, Senna Cosmetics, Cinema Secrets, Muse Beauty Pro, and of course, Skindinavia. These 6 brands are sponsoring our entire year of the Powder Group Conversations program. And that allows us to bring this to everyone for free, post it on YouTube, give everybody lots of love in a time when we need it the most. So thank you for being here with us, Madeline. I was talking with a friend of mine who was very excited to be able to listen in today. And they said, how did you meet Madeline? And I said, oh.
It was so long ago.
That's what I said. I said, maybe it was when I was an executive at Mac. No, maybe it was when I was working with Timothy Prion. No, and I couldn't remember, but it's been 20 years.
I can't remember, but we go way back and we always cross paths, and I love what you do for the community.
Thank you.
We're lifers. We're lifers. This is our community.
I mean,
we're in it for life.
We have no choice, right?
Like I always say, it's a blood thing.
Absolutely. So, a lot of our members, and our community is a pretty broad community, Madeline. We've got people who work in TV and film. We've got editorial artists. We've got people who are celebrity artists. We've got bridal makeup artists. We have students. We've got people who are union, people who are agency. For those who maybe aren't so connected in with the celebrity agency world, the editorial world, the advertising world, which is what the great majority of your talent did, I should say, because you have such a realm now of things you're doing with the agency. Can you share a little bit about how you got started personally and how Cloutier Remix came to be?
Sure. So I did study art administration, so I did have an art and a business background, but I never even knew there were makeup agents, but that was my background. I moved to LA at age 23. I met Chantal Cloutier. This was the mid 80s, and she had one of the first hair and makeup agencies in Los Angeles called Cloutier Agency. And it was such an exciting time. I got to tell you, the mid 80s till about the year 2000, LA was just booming. And not just LA, I mean, makeup and hairstylists that had always been in the background or had been just thought about for film and television were being recognized for the first time, were being written about, were being credited, were being interviewed. And the two worlds of beauty and fashions and celebrity started to meld with film and television. So it was just a super, super exciting time. And then fast forward about 23 years into my work at Cloutier, and I was already the director. I ended up acquiring the agency and becoming the sole owner, and I renamed it Cloutier Remix. So this is my 34th year repping artists.
That's a lot of years, and we're going to talk. We're going to talk about what's changed. I know we need a lot more than a half hour to talk about all the things that have changed, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's get a snapshot though first of Cloutier Remix today. Not only do you represent this type of artist that you started out, when Chantal Cloutier launched the agency and you worked with her as the director, which are so those celebrity artists, the people we see doing red carpet, Francesca Tillot, everything Beyonce does, all that great stuff, but you've expanded out to other areas. So can you talk, number one, about how many artists, if you know off the top of your head, you represent? What types of artists and hairstyles do you represent? And what's sort of different about Cloutier Remix versus other agencies that represent talent?
Sure. So we're a full service agency with a full staff. We have an accounting department, we have a web department, we have agents, we have a full-blown office with a meeting room. there's a lot of agents that are working on their own, which is great. And now it's possible. But we offer not just representation, management, and we also work very closely with brands. And that's something I started doing early days. I was one of the first to just start aligning with brands and getting artists contracts, anything from just to launch a project to multi-year contracts. So that was also different. Influencers, we do not rep people, influencers that are only influencers, but we have artists that have crossed over because of their large following and because they love social media and they stay engaged and they work with brands. So that's somewhat new too, as of the last 10 years.
Do you work at all in the TV and film realm? Do you represent any talent in that area?
We represent union talent. I want to give a shout out to an artist we rep, Sergio Lopez Rivera, who won the Oscar this weekend.
Congratulations. Oh my God.
With the other glam crew for Ma Rainey. So that was super exciting.
Really exciting. And we featured him online for Ma Rainey along with Mataki and Mia. And then we featured he and Mataki in this issue of On Makeup Magazine as well. So we loved that article so much. We did it online and then we put it in print too, because it's such a great piece. So I'm excited for our audience, our community to be able to check that piece out. When did you start representing TV and film folks? Because that wasn't what you originally did.
No, but what happened is early days, when celebrities started kind of replacing supermodels on magazine covers, on beauty ads, any kind of commercial, they crossed over into the beauty world. And that was non-union, still shoots. And so they started working with artists that were very, very beauty and editorial, as opposed to film and television. And a few key people in the early days, Demi Moore was one, went back to when they were going to start a film project. They said, hey, I kind of like that hair and makeup artist I worked with for Harper's Bazaar or for Interview Magazine. So some of the artists that I repped became union members and started working on a lot of films. So it started with people that went into the union, but since then I've just started representing, not for a long time, we've had a union division.
Right. Amazing. So, you mentioned, and you are full service, and you're right. It's funny because as someone who works with a lot of artists and sometimes manages billing and things like that through their representation, whether it's a manager or an agent, you're right. There's a lot of people who are just a one-off. They manage and agent someone. There's a lot of people who have a few people, but as you said, you've got a team, and I've met your team, so many of them, and they're amazing. How many agents work with you now? And are they specialized within, like, somebody manages the TV film area, somebody works mostly with this area? How's that work?
So right now we're still kind of in the pandemic aftershock. So we have scaled down. At its height, there were 13 of us. Now it's closer to 8. And specialized.
That's still pretty good. That's significant.
Yeah. So some of us have more experience, for example, film and television. Other agents do film and television, but if it's something complicated, they might bring me in. But every artist that we represent has a point person, a primary agent, who knows their day-to-day, who knows them very well and stays in contact with them regularly. But all agents, when they have an opportunity, will share with the other agents, hey, I don't think I have the right person. Who do you have? So it's very, very collaborative.
Great.
That's how it's worked really well for us.
I think, and it's funny, over the years of my having had the opportunity and the great honor of having taught students at schools of makeup artistry and teach in front of a trade show and give them advice about agencies and representation and unions and what these all mean. I think that my biggest moments were when they were shocked or surprised at what an agent does and doesn't do.
Yeah.
As I'm looking down as to who's with us now, I'm knowing 3 or 4 of them I know have an agent. Most of the rest I don't know if they do. Some I know don't have an agent. So for those who don't know quite exactly what it is that an agent does, and especially now, because it's a little
Now,
different now, as you said, in post-pandemic, can you share what an agency does for an artist?
yes. So what an agency cannot do is guarantee you bookings and confirm that you're going to have a rock star career. And now more than ever, it is an absolute partnership. A long time ago, my agent, the artists just had to focus on their craft and being professional and getting rebooked. Uh, they did not feed leads to the agency. They didn't get involved in negotiations. We kind of had our jobs, but now it's the internet has basically changed everything. So oftentimes an artist is contacted before the agent because they're contacted through their Instagram, because they have their own website, which we actually encourage. I have no problem with that. Um, so oftentimes, and a lot happens on set, word of mouth. So oftentimes an artist is letting me know, hey, so and so contacted me. I spend a lot of time talking to artists, since '07 when rates started getting weak and then they started falling, and then the economic crisis and then the pandemic. And I spend a lot of time talking to the artists about rates and discussing, is this an opportunity that's worth lowering your rate for? That I didn't have to have that discussion so much
Right.
a long time ago. Um, and what has also changed a lot is how much time I spend talking to artists about how they're feeling. So there's the pandemic, and then there's the silent pandemics that are going on at the same time. The mental health crisis, people's financial crisis. Um, there's a lot of crisis. And so when work is slow, I find that I stay connected with the artists, and the other agents at the agency stay connected, speaking about things like this. And it's also not a lost time. So there was basically no work for months, and now there's some work. But this is a good time to hone in on your skills, um, get your kid up to date, get educated, come on these webinars, take online master classes, just really get ready to come back to work and work on your mental health, because we have been slow, and coming back to work is a sharp transition.
It
You have to
is.
be
It is.
prepared for
It's funny also because I was talking with an artist the other day who's a very big name in the industry, and they said, I said, how's how are you doing? Like, what's going on? They said, I'm not going back into it yet. I'm still
it.
paused. I'm holding up. I'm not ready yet. And I said, this is an artist who will, when they are ready, it will be there for them. So they're lucky to have that opportunity. Same thing with the people that you represent, Francesca, for example, Kyer. Like, these are people who are working and who are getting that going. But there is a big mental health thing. And I'm glad that, you are everyone I speak to about you is always like, oh, she's the most wonderful human. Like, you're a great human as well as an amazing agent and businesswoman. So, I think that's why people are attracted to you as talent, and also as the productions that come to you, and the projects that come to you. What would you say I know you said you can't guarantee work. Are there other
So
things that,
here is an agent's role. An agent's role is to facilitate work, and
Mhm.
then to take care of everything else, the deal memo, the invoicing, the collecting the payment, the presentation. Like, we will often rework a website for a specific job. Um, and it's our job to get an artist in front of as many clients, in front of as many projects, to get them considered as much as possible. But we are not the final decision maker, and people have to remember that. And oftentimes someone's reputation will help or hurt. Um, The other thing that we do is manage expectations and communicate with an artist, because certain times there's client feedback. The clients are not comfortable, nor do they want to take the time to give an artist. But we will find out, they're not going to rebook that artist, and they told us they were too slow, they were inattentive, they were on their phone, they showed up late, the makeup wasn't up to par. So there's that too. I mean, we facilitate communication, and we facilitate bookings and manage expectations. And
Is there anything that you feel that folks think an agent's job is that is not their job? Anything that you like are ever surprised by, like, that's not my job as your agent?
controlling rates. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go with a top agency and my rate is not going to be 300 or 500 or whatever. Agents don't control rates. Agents can be the gatekeeper of, yes, we'll accept that rate for that artist, or no, we won't, but we can't change rates. It's up to the client and up to the
Let me
demand.
ask you this. I think that there's a lot of people when, sometimes a lot of times at the Powder Group, we do programming that is about setting goals and figuring out your future. And I'm always surprised that when people, like, one of the first things they say is, I want to get with an agency. I want to be represented by Cloutier Remix. I want to, when is someone ready for, or when does someone need an agent?
So the good news is it's never been easier to agent yourself. And I always say that. Agents, I used to love to take on new talent, because I saw talent. They might only have 5 pictures, but you could just tell. And they were so professional, and we could build them. We can't do that anymore. People don't call us saying, I want someone new. Everything's digitized, everything's internet. They're going to go to a website before they'll ask me, who do I, well, not a film, they like to know more about the artist. But, oh my gosh, what was the question?
Oh, talking about when someone's ready to get an agent. When do they need one?
So you are not ready because you want one. Definitely not. You are ready when you have a career that already has momentum, that you are getting requests, and they're requests that, you have to have a portfolio. That's number one. You have to have a portfolio that's going to stand out. You should go to, if you're thinking of approaching an agent, go to their site, look at at the sites of the artists they represent. And you've got to be somewhat close to that level or at that level. Otherwise, there's really not a lot they can do with you. You need to keep working on your own to build up your site. Then you can approach an agent. I always listen to my artists. So if you're assisting, or an artist that's at that agency, you can easily ask them, do you think I'm ready? And if so, will you make an introduction? And that is an excellent way. We do get, cold calls or cold solicitations. We answer all of them. I hope we answer all of them. But you need a portfolio, you need momentum, you need a good reputation. And if possible, an introduction is helpful.
How about a system?
Or a client introduction. It can be a client introduction or an artist introduction.
Okay, good call. I think that's an important fact. And you said assisting, and I think that a lot of people also think, oh, I'm really good. Everyone, I got a lot of likes on my social media. Oh, my TikTok makeups are really popular. I want an agent now. And they think that they're going to go to an agent. Well, number one, there's social media agencies, and there's now Clubhouse people who represent Clubhouse people for brand. It's like insane. But when someone wants to have, I'll use Francesca. When I want to be Francesca when I grow up, and I say, I want to assist Francesca. She's my icon. She's my idol. I love everything she does. I want to assist her. What do you look for in an assistant, and how does someone, besides an artist introduction, besides someone saying, if it's a cold solicitation, someone reaches out and said, I love your work at your agency. I love this about your agency. And I would love to know how I can begin assisting your talent. What
Yeah,
is
I
that
think the
step?
best way to assist any top artist is to try to contact them directly, because usually they are picking their assistants, not the agency.
Okay.
So DM them on Instagram, send them an email. If you go to a master class, introduce yourself at the end of the master class. We do get a lot of assistant solicitations. Right now, most of the artists we rep have an assistant or two they're already working with. If we see someone that we think would be great, we keep a database, we keep their contact info, so that when an artist contacts us and says, I need an assistant, I can recommend a few people. That used to happen a lot, but honestly, it happens less now. You just take the initiative when you're ready and start reaching out and start networking.
And would you say the term "when you're ready" is pretty standard as you described it? Like, make sure you've got the portfolio, make sure you're doing the work that the agency does, make sure you've got the right understanding of how the industry works. Or, are there some artists who are, going back to what you said, you love to build talent, you love to develop talent. Are there some artists who are like, hey, as long as they've got a great attitude, bring them on, they're excited, they're whatever? Or are you really looking at that too? Do those artists look and say their work isn't up to par?
The problem with work not being up to par is we have to have a presentation that's going to impress clients. So even though our agency or any agency may be really impressed with someone and love them, we need a portfolio. So sometimes it's, we love you, we see great potential, spend the next 3 months, the next 6 months building up some more beautiful images, and then come back, because clients won't have the benefit of meeting them,
Right.
of realizing this is someone I want on set. So the first step is the presentation.
Can I ask you about social media for a minute? And we can
Unless they're in
talk.
film and television, then it's about a good portfolio, a
Okay.
good resume.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you about social media, because I think, your talent they are content creators. They create their own content.
Yeah.
They post often. I remember just Francesca doing the share trip for the elephant. And I'm like, oh, I love you so much. And I wish I remember the elephant's name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, they're creating content. How much of the responsibility of promoting yourself is left to the artist? I know you said it's a
Yeah,
partnership now.
it's up to the artist, and we really encourage it. I think there isn't an agent that doesn't encourage an artist being active on social media. I mean, I have a few top artists that are not at all active, and they don't need to be. They've got clients, they like their privacy, but it is a great way to get noticed. I've got a couple artists where we use their Instagram handle as much as their portfolio, because that's what some clients want. That's what some brands want.
Yeah.
But social media is really important. It's a great way to present yourself. It's super important.
Do you recommend, and again, I could talk with you about social media for hours, right? I have one more question on it. Do you recommend that people, and everyone has a different opinion, and I have my own, which is different than others, they stay focused on the work, or do you want to see their personal energy and some things about their personal life, so that way you get a flavor for who they are? Or are you of the mindset that if you have a social media that is about your career, you're focusing on your career, it should really be focused only on that and not things that are external?
So I don't mind personality and some personal stuff on someone's Instagram where they're getting the inspiration, a beautiful shot of Paris if they're in Paris. But I do not want to see uh, anything that's unprofessional, partying, constant shopping. So personality is fine. Some artists will have separate, a professional Instagram and then a very personal Instagram,
Sure.
which is fine. But personality is fine, but not too personal.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and one of the things that I think come up a lot is social justice causes and things that are
Yeah.
important. I am of the mindset, I know you are, so many people in our industry are, is that there's a right way, from my perspective, to think about things like Black Lives Matter and trans lives, and about, stop Asian hate. There's a right way to think about those things, and those are positive. One of the things I always explain is, if you're going to speak about a social cause, social justice issue, you speak in a positive, not a negative. It's about
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
pro Black lives. It's not about being anti anything. And would you
Yeah.
agree with that, or do you say stay away
Oh, I
from those?
completely agree. I
Okay,
completely
great.
agree with that. And, just keep in mind that in the beauty business, a lot of clients share the same political, a lot of us in the beauty community share
Yeah,
the same political views, but not everybody
yeah.
and not all clients. And if you're interested in being a brand ambassador or having a formal relationship with brands, you need to be a little careful about what you post.
I find,
I tell
and
the
one of the
story
things
of,
in my coaching, I'll do is, if someone's posting an anti, so you're pro Biden, anti Trump, but instead of posting anti Trump, post pro Biden, because that's a positive, it's not a negative. So I think that sometimes, though, people get really anxious, and especially in like a Facebook world that is more familial and conversational, and lots of words versus pictures. And I think that they do get a little bit sometimes focused on the negative. And so I always try to message my coaching artists and say, let's turn that to a positive. Let's bring it up instead of down. And I think
I
you can
agree with
say
you,
important things. You can say important
100%,
things. Yeah.
100%.
I want to, just a few more
And
questions. We're
also
coming
on
up in
the
a half hour. I'm
posting,
not going to let you go yet. I just can't.
yeah.
I think that, as someone who's been doing this now 34 years, you've probably seen a lot of artists who have it right and a lot of artists who make mistakes. So my question to you is, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes an artist can make as they're building their career?
So reading the room, so to speak.
Mm,
Every job that you walk into will have a different vibe. You will walk into jobs where they really want your creative input. You'll walk into another job where they know they want a red lip and maybe a heavy eye, and you might think it's too much. So sometimes you need to push, sometimes you need to acquiesce, because as an agent, we'll get the feedback they contributed nothing, or they fought us on what we wanted. And we're not there. And this is a really hard thing on an artist, to really read, where do I navigate with my input? Or you walk into a job and it might be a celebrity that you're used to working with, but the photographer wants to completely change what that celebrity is comfortable with for the sake of a strong editorial. So you're hearing the photographer say, I want bold. You're hearing your client say, I want this. And how do you navigate that? So that's really important. And that will kind of predict, along with your skill, your rebooking ratio. Um, Ego. There was a time a long time ago where it was cool to have a big ego and just be a show off and talk about this and that. Not anymore. Um, those are two big ones. Those are two big ones.
they feel pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think reading the room, I think, we always say, and I remember years and years ago, at the makeup show, when was still a partner in the show, Billy B came and spoke at the show, one of our first years. And he said, it's never up to me, and I'm always the help. I might be a big makeup artist. I'm always the help. I'm working on the biggest people in the industry. I'm always the help. I'm using the back door, not the red carpet.
Yeah.
It is not up to me. It's up to the project. It's up to the artist. And I think that's such great advice. And it's exactly what you just said. It's not about this idea of like, I'm going to show them what a great fill in the blank I do. It's that you are a part of a team, and that you have to be able to understand who the decision maker is. And you have to understand. And what I love is, Mal, and you've said a couple of times now, it's going to get back to you as the agent. They're going to say, thank you so much, Michael. Wonderful day. Thank you so much. And then they're going to call you, or they're not. And they're not going to call you because they're not going to rebook Michael. And when you wonder why they don't, maybe they told you, maybe they didn't. But the problem is you got to read that room and you've got to understand that.
Yeah.
Incredibly important.
And that's why assisting is important.
Yeah.
Because you learn, because it's nerve-wracking. And at the same time, you have to be confident, or people won't be confident in what you're doing. So
two more things. One, what would you say? Because I want people to understand the perspective of the agent. What is the hardest thing about your job?
Well, the hardest thing for me is, and this is purely an agent thing, when certain artists have had a great career and for whatever reason it's going downhill, and neither you or they can resuscitate it. That is hard and it's painful. Sometimes sharing negative feedback can be difficult, but I always keep it constructive and the artists know. Watching certain artists self-destruct is difficult, whether it's from drug abuse or from ego or whatever, personality, that's hard. Keeping it together when there's no work and you have a staff and your artists need work, that's hard. Watching other agencies go under is hard. I don't know, we're all together.
Yeah.
We're all together.
It is the community, and to that point of assisting and a point of artists and their integrity, it is a small community, and you all do know each other, and you all do talk, and that's and I think that it's important to to understand all the things that you shared with us that are shifting and changing about the agency. I especially love when you said the $300 or $500 rate, because I think people think that every big celebrity artist is a $5,000 job still, and that's not the case, is it?
It's not the case. That is not the case. What's happened in the industry over the last 10 years is that rates have become very polarized. So if you're in demand and working at a high level on high budget productions, your rate maybe has hardly fluctuated. You are in that 5,000. But for a lot of artists, it has dropped. When you're interchangeable, you're usually in the 1,000 rate, and there's not a lot in between. Whereas before, there was all kinds of rates in between, But we've seen rates drop in union productions. There's tiers that are lower than existed before, and certainly in the freelance world.
It's important for people to think about, because I think a lot of what we just talked about really represents not only a shift in how you represent talent as an agent, but also how we should be thinking, how our community should be thinking about their work. Value is not necessarily attached to a dollar sign if there's not a budget, to your point.
That's really important. Your talent and what you bring to the shoot and how you're valued is not connected to the dollar amount. At all. And
it's important.
Don't be insulted by rates. You can turn them down. You can try and explain. Also, when you really feel that you've been working with a client and it's time to increase your rate, I think a good approach is to give them advance warning. Do it after you've finished a great job with them. Wait till the following week, follow up and say, that was just fantastic. I've loved working with you. And I'd like you to know that I've been getting a higher rate with other clients, or that I've had this rate for 3 years and I do need to raise it. Would you be comfortable raising it to such and such for your next project? I think that's a great way to go about it, and just start it with a dialogue. You're not catching them by surprise. You're giving them time, and they'll let you know, maybe, or we can't until the fall or whatever.
That's great. Great advice. Great advice. Great advice for artists who are agenting themselves. Great advice for artists who are trying to work with agents. Before I let you go, I'd be remiss not to ask you about one of my favorite things that came out of the pandemic, the Pro Safety Group. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I'm really, thank you. So when the pandemic first hit and most of us spent a couple weeks thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? And then lockdowns. I could not just sit on my hands. I had to be part of getting us out of this hole. So I joined with two great partners, Sumita Batra of Ziba Beauty and Karen Reddy Medeiros, previously of MAC Cosmetics. And we produced the Pro Safety Summit. And we had Michael, you as a speaker. We had 75 plus experts speaking, scientists, virologists, beauty CEOs, makeup artists, hairstylists, brands, retailers. And we put on a summit to help people stay educated and inspire. Oh, mental health.
I was very impressed with the lineup. It was amazing. Is that still available if someone did not sign up for it?
So it was free when it aired in January, and it is still available at theprosafetygroup.com. Now, unfortunately, there is a fee. I'm not sure exactly what the fee is, but all the content is there. And I'm saying 3 days, 24 sessions of content, packed, financial advice, resources, where to get a loan, how to renegotiate with tenants, big artists speaking, big hair and makeup artists talking about how they pivoted their social media, all kinds of stuff. It's great.
It was great. I was impressed. I watched a little bit of it live, and then I was in the middle of doing, we're both always like, how are you doing what you're doing? There's so much stuff going on. And then I was like, oh, I got to go back. I got to go back and watch a few things. I was wrapped. I literally was like, I've got 5 more minutes. And then I'd be like, 5 more minutes. It's a great thing. And then for me, we both had the great opportunity and the privilege of being able to present lots of information over the last year. The Pro Safety Beauty Summit, the Pro Beauty Safety Summit, Pro Safety Beauty Summit was, what I loved is you included the medical piece, you included all these other elements, and that while the COVID protocol, while recommendations from the CDC have shifted and changed since that time, that's important to consider, but the advice is solid and strong. And I can't think back to a single piece that was not relevant today that was provided then a few months ago. So that was awesome. So I put in the chat, the prosafetygroup.com, so people can go to that, find that information, sign up for emails and stuff so they can get that. Madeline, I could talk to you all day. What a treat. Thank you for being with us. First thing in the morning, LA time, lunchtime here on the East Coast. I'm so grateful. This is going to be live on YouTube either later today or tomorrow. So you guys, if you did not get a chance to check it live, well, if you're here, you got a chance to check it out live. So just that. Tell your friends, check it out. We're going to put it on our page as well on Facebook so everyone can check it out. Madeline Leonard from Cloutier Remix, thank you so much for sharing the day with us. Everybody else, thank you guys. And thank you our sponsors, Omnia, Beekman, 1802, Senna Cosmetics, Cinema Secrets, Muse Beauty Pro, and of course, Skinavia. I am Michael DeVellis. This has been the Powder Group Conversations with Madeline Leonard. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Madeline.
And Michael, thank you. Thank you for everything you do for the beauty community. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thanks, love. Bye, guys.
Bye.